Hi everybody, welcome to the Offstage. I'm Josafath Reynoso, and this is Maranda DeBusk, or you should probably introduce yourself, actually.
Oh, hey.
Hi everybody, I'm Josafath Reynoso. Welcome to the Offstage.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maranda DeBusk. I'm here to hang out off stage with you today.
I like that.
Hang
Okay.
off stage? Hang out off stage? It's like, when you like talk to photographers or you're talking about photographers,
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah.
uh, like I had two of my former students got married a couple weeks ago. And so I was at the wedding and I was sitting next to one of their friends who I'd never met before, like from another phase of their life. And we were talking about how she had gone to get her engagement photos and they had like bought a package at one of those like wedding expo things from a company that had like multiple photographers. And so like they had one guy and she said it was like the most awkward thing that they'd ever done. And he was like really like kind of like stoic and like there was no like making them feel good. And like after it was over, she was like, I really feel not good.
Okay.
And so she called the agency and was like, do you have a different photographer for the next photo thing? Because that would be great. I don't think like this was a really good fit. And so they sent out somebody else and like that person was personable and like charming and like made them laugh. And it's like, if you can make people laugh when you're holding a camera in front of their face, you're done.
Yeah, you got half of the thing done. Yeah, it's funny just how many soft skills do you actually need to do your job, don't it? I mean, like yes, you can handle a camera, and you probably have a fucking fantastic eye. But if you're a pest and no one can stand you, right? Like, you're gonna be a lousy photographer. Like, no one's gonna go to you. I don't know. I was guest lecturing on a portfolio class this semester, and I was telling students about like personal branding, right? Like the way that you sell yourself, and I was telling them, because they all obsess about their portfolios, right? And we all obsess about our portfolios, and we all obsess about our portfolios because they are something that we can control. You think that if your portfolio is great and the font is great and the description is great, then you've done your job. But no one's looking for like best scenic designer in my area. Like that's bullshit. Like no one is looking up, who they can hire. They're always gonna come to your side already knowing or having heard from you, right? So the fact that you should develop or you should spend more time developing those soft skills to get people to your website rather than focusing on how your website looks, it's kind of like overwhelming. And at the same time, I understand that it's a very hard thing to reconcile because my soft skills suck, right? So because my social skills suck. I'm great at creating websites, but I'm bad at selling them.
You sell yourself short because your social skills do not suck.
Well, thank you. But I still wish they were better, right? Like
I like what you said about it being about control, right? Like I can control my portfolio. I can have like it is there are very few outside elements. And once you get into conversation, like now it's all outside elements, right? It's like it's both output and input, and I have to be able to output and input and process input and then output related to that input. And now I'm just tired like saying it.
Do you remember your first portfolio? The very first time that you put together a portfolio. Do you remember that?
Well, there were two parts to it, right? Like, so one of them is that I ran across the website that I had made because I made a digital one and a physical one. The physical one is in my office so that I can pull it out when I teach portfolios and I can show it to people. Be like, no,
As something to do, as something to avoid, or both.
As something to remind them that like the examples that we're looking at when we're talking about it are often from people who are much more established and have been doing this longer, right?
Sure.
My website is cool. My website has gone through a tillion different iterations and started with one that was just like a carousel of photos of shows that I had done in college that were not well curated. that somebody else took, and depending on which year it was, depending on which university photographer we had, depending on if they knew how to shoot for theater or not.
Yeah, yeah.
And plus or minus if that actually mattered, right? 'Cause
Right.
I'd sent them all to the Walgreens to print, and I had heard stories of people having trouble doing this because it could sometimes appear like copywritten material, like you had like taken a photo of something that wasn't yours. So I was a little nervous about it, and I got there to go pick up my photos, and the person at the photo counter was like, "I recognize one of the shows," and I was like, "Really?" Which was like triggering my fear of like, "Oh no, did they not print them?"
Sure.
Like, I promise it was mine. Like, I did this, and I'm all like, really like, you know, tight about it.
Sure.
And she's like, "Yeah, did you know Gene Funderburk?" And I was like, "Yeah, I knew Gene." And Gene he was a alum of the school. He was in his late 60s when I was a student. And he was just a fan of the theater, right? Like, he'd gone off, he was a hot air balloonist, he was a physicist, he had helped develop part of whatever makes the plastic or the like shiny foil that goes around Pop-Tarts and inside Pringles cans. Like, there's some part of that material that he patented as part of his life. And then he came back to Greenville, and he just liked to hang out with the theater department. Like, he was a donor. He was the person who knew the most about our sound system. He would occasionally just show up with new tools for the shop and put them in the shop so that we had it.
Wow. Okay.
And he would play darts with us every morning. We'd play darts every day there was class. We played darts at, I think it was 10 a.m. So I hung out with Gene a lot, and Gene and I got along because he also liked to hang out in the booth, right? So I'm in there doing lights, and he's in there doing sound, or I'm like, teach me about that sound stuff, right?
Sure.
And Gene passed right after I graduated.
Oh.
I graduated in May, and it was October? It was the fall. So it wasn't very long after I graduated. And so this would have been then 3 months after he passed. I was picking up these photos. And the person at the photo counter was like, "Did you know Gene?" And
Did you
like,
know? Yeah.
I talked to Gene every day. And she was like, "He was really cool." And I was like, "He was really cool." And that was like my little like star moment of like, okay, going on this grad school journey, I guess was the play, right?
Sure.
He's telling me like, all right, good job, keep going.
So you kind of lucked out. You had a good photo that you really milked. I mean, hey, some people don't get that.
No.
Yeah.
What about you? Do you remember your first portfolio?
I remember my first portfolio, but I'm not sure that was actually the first. I must have submitted a portfolio for grad school, right? Like, I must have, but I don't remember assembling that. I had been working 10 years in Mexico by that point, so, but I don't remember ever having to apply for a job in Mexico with a portfolio, right? It's just not something that you do, or a resume. Resumes are not really a thing in Mexico. So, but the one portfolio that I remember the most is the very first time that I went to USITT, and I kind of like used my rent money to do that, and I ended up like being homeless for a month and shit because I couldn't get paid back. It's a whole nother story, but I remember that I went to Kinko's. It was the first time I walked into a Kinko's. This was probably in Cincinnati. I don't even remember where it was. Whatever USITT was happening, and I was like, okay, so tomorrow I'm gonna pony up and put on the extra, I don't know, like $50 or $70 or however much it was for the job fair. I was like, and I'm gonna get myself a job, right? But I didn't bring a portfolio because I didn't know that I was gonna be here. Like, this is a decision I just made like 2 days ago. The way I usually make my decisions, and I was like, I'm gonna assemble a couple photos in my laptop, print them in a very professional looking PDF, and then walk to the people and fucking blow their minds, right? So I remember doing that. I remember the very first portfolio that I assembled then was on PowerPoint. I remember I put it together in PowerPoint, right? I was like, because this is like full picture, full page, whatever. I know how to print this. I turned it into a PDF, took it to Kinko's, and I also remember it was like fucking expensive because like I had to like bind it and print it, and printing wasn't that cheap like 10 years ago. So it was a sizable expense. So that's one of the reasons why I ended up not getting all my money back. And it really, like, I felt very proud of my portfolio, right? Like I felt very proud of the way I was able to put it together so quickly and so like professionally, whatever that meant. But I had, and going back to our first point, I had zero fucking marketing skills. Like I had a portfolio, however good or bad that was, none of that mattered because one, I had never done a job fair in the States, right? The way that you do it in Mexico is you usually bring your stuff to people and you're like, hey, this is me, you want to hire me, right? And here's the opposite. Here there's like 1,000 job openings, and you go to those job openings and you're like, hey, I'm interested in this thing, can you hire me for this? So I remember walking in on a I don't know, it was probably like an apprentice or someone. It clearly was a student, right? Older than me, maybe. I don't know. In one of the theaters, I don't even remember what theater it was. The very first theater where I felt confident enough to just walk to them, and I showed them my portfolio, and I was like, "Well, this is me. What do you got?" And they were like, what do you mean? What do we got? I was like, yeah, what can you offer me? And I remember them looking very confused and thinking like, I don't know. Let me look into it. Why don't you give me your resume? And I probably did that one or two more times with another two theaters until I just felt so defeated and so like out of my element that I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit this one out. I'm gonna sit and listen and understand what's going on first, and then I'll come back next year and I'm gonna get myself a job. But it was yeah, again, however good my portfolio was, I really wish I could have traded that for one, the understanding of what the fuck I was doing, and two, the ability to just talk myself up and say, hey, this is me. I see that you have this position open, right? I think I'd be a good fit. Because I can tell you how many times I have gotten like emails from students, for example, saying, hey, I would love to assist you. And you can always tell when they are sending you the boilerplate email that they send a million other people, right? And they just don't care. I mean, they just want a job, and I get it. I respect that. But you also get it when it's someone like writing to you, right, and saying, "Hey, I really saw your work. I saw this thing that you did. How can we collaborate?" I don't know. Does that ever happen to you?
Yeah. No. I mean, I've done it, and it has happened, right? Like there's this, and I always wish that I worked in such a way that I could bring more assistance, right? Like I don't tend to work. I mean, I don't do a lot of work in New York, so I don't, if you're thinking about like the majority of the folks who are sending me these emails are going to New York, and it's like I'm not gonna, I'm not there a lot. Like that's not helpful.
Sure.
And like I don't tend to work in spaces where I'm bringing in assistants a lot. Sometimes I'll be they'll have like a local assistant, but so it's like I'm like flattered to get the email, even the boilerplate one, to just be like, oh, somebody thought to like reach out to me. That's cool. And also, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not helpful. But yeah, no, it does. It makes a big difference in, is it just like a truly blanket email, or is it even like just a couple of sentences, right? Like I haven't, beautiful things about growing up is that I haven't had to send a cold call email in a while. But I used to have a template. I'm sure I still do. That's in my drafts folder, and I would just copy and paste it every time. That was like, here are the couple of sentences about me. Here are the brackets that say fill this in with information about this particular place. Fill this part in with information about this particular job, or why you would be good for this job, so that at least it came off a little bit more personable, or at least they could tell that I did look up the theater before I sent the email. But But there is something like there is something about being personable, right? Or even just you, right? Even if you don't feel like you are personable, just like coming forth with your own energy, I guess.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, kind of like I feel like one of the lessons that took me the longest to learn working as a professional was, and I mean, it's gonna sound all kinds of cheesy, but that you are enough, right? Like whatever you are, whoever you are, it's better to just be you than to try to fucking fake it. I remember this boilerplate email that you're talking about, your call email, because you sent that to me and I used it for the longest time. I modified it because I remember my last email and my previous email before that was, and this is something that I'm ready to confess, I come out strong. I am very aggressive when I'm trying to sell myself. I know. And my email was like, I am the best designer in the world. You want to hire me? And yours was more like, hey, I love to, to like collaborate with people. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Probably soften the grip, be a little bit more personable, be less fucking urgent, and like show the knife between your teeth. So I started using yours, and I remember it really worked for me. But after a while, I kind of like just discovered it was less about, I mean, sure, you want to get your foot in the door. I mean, you want people to know who you are, and that is the hardest part, honestly. The very first approach, the very first time that you get in contact with someone, that's the hardest part. But after that, you really, really have to drop the fucking pretense and just be yourself. You just have to show people who you are. Wait, I mean, I know it sucks, but like hope that you click and just get to work, right? But if you're like so installed in the pose of like, I am the best designer, or I am the designer that you need, or please hire me, people never, I feel like I don't want to respond to those emails.
Well, because I mean, we all have a bit of imposter syndrome. I think that just comes with being artists. Like, it's in
Sure.
the makeup. But there's something that feels very like Wizard of Oz, man behind the curtain about it, right? Like, I am the great and mighty Oz, and I'm pulling all these levers so that I'm the big face that's moving. And you're sort of like, when you're doing that, you're sort of waiting for somebody to peer behind the curtain and find out
Sure.
that it's actually just you pulling levers. And that when you can figure out, and it takes forever because it's hard, but when you can find that space to go, okay, like, I am just me. I'm not the great and powerful Oz.
I was watching this panel with Davidson, and I don't know who else was there. It was a co-production with Texas Performing Arts, but they were asking they were asking it, and you could hear the hunger through the question, right? Of like, how do you decide who you want to hire as an assistant, right? And of course the subtext was like, please hire me, like ask me more about how you can work with me, and the answer, which I mean, like, I love David. I think he's a great guy. I'd love to hang out with him at some point, but I thought two things. One, people would have never responded to this way, right? Like 10 years ago, in the golden era, I don't know if it was a golden era, but in the gilded age of designers, right, being these geniuses, there's no way anyone would have like answered like this, because what he said was like, just don't be an asshole. Like, I don't want to work with assholes, right? And that's honestly half of the fucking battle. Like, if you prove to people that you're not a pain in the ass to work with, people will hire you. But if you're like so headstrong and so annoying that people don't want to have you around, it really doesn't matter how good your work is. Your work can be impeccable. You can be fucking Joseph Svoboda coming back from the grave, but if you're annoying, no one will want to work with you.
No, and and I think that's true at all levels. Like, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, that it like, even at like, I'm coming in as a designer, or I'm coming in as a director, or the longer we go about the work, right, the less and less patience people have for jerks. Like,
Yeah.
like, don't be an asshole is not just for assistants. Like, don't be an asshole is from the ground, like, everybody in the building. Like, I don't want to deal with people who yell, right? Like,
Yeah.
safety aside, right? Like, if somebody's doing something that could cause immediate harm to themselves or others, absolutely, yell hold, right?
Sure.
That's the thing. But aside from that, like, I have no interest in, like, being the person who is angry all the time. That sounds exhausting. And I have no interest in dealing with people who are angry all the time. Like, that, it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel creative. It doesn't feel collaborative. It doesn't feel generative.
Yeah, it doesn't feel helpful. Like, it doesn't feel like you're moving the conversation forward when you're trying to deflect someone else's attitude, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's weird. I speaking of this, and I feel this is a great conversation for episode 0. And so we go into the end of this one conversation. I want to say, no names named, right? But you and I worked on a project a long time ago. It was probably one of the first projects that we worked together on. And speaking of assholes, oh boy, were there assholes galore on that project. Do you remember that?
The white feathers?
The white feathers, indeed.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Speaking of not being constructive and not helping out, I mean, sure, it's annoying. I mean, it's almost a cliche, right? But the annoying technical director, right? The guy that is a hard ass. You kind of have to be, right? Like, I respect hard ass technical directors when they're keeping the trains running on time, right? It's like, fine, you gotta be, you kind of have to be an asshole, right? Like, that's your job. But when it's coming from the top, when the people that are supposed to keep you supported and show you that is an environment to create and to grow and to explore, and they are the asshole, oh boy, that is the worst. That is the worst. I don't think I've ever had an experience as bad as that ever after that.
Nope. That is my quintessential, like, I have so many little nuggets that I will just drop from time to time of, like, it's not this, so it's fine. It's not. Yeah. I'm not crying in my car out like a block away from the loading dock so nobody can see me crying. I'm doing great.
Yeah, that was a weird process. That was a weird process. I mean, and I feel like we all have war stories, right? Like, there's always the one project that you wish could have been better, or the one project where, like, oh, this would have been so cool if this thing would have happened and we had another week. Like, it's always the other week, right? But there is that one project where it feels like someone is sabotaging the actual project, right? When they're going against the project. And I never experienced that person being the person at the very top. That just felt so impossible to navigate. And granted, maybe we're just, like, younger and greener. You don't think it's that?
I mean, yes, we were. Like, that is part of it. Could we navigate it better now? You know, more than a decade later. About a decade later, right? Yeah, totally. We totally could. But I also think that it was hard. Like, it was set up to be hard. It was a difficult scenario in lots of ways. And that was true of at all levels, right? Like, if it were just the two of us who were like, man, this is, like, the worst.
Sure.
It was quite truly just about everybody. and it was a funny story.
I mean, it's funny now.
Yeah,
It wasn't. It wasn't funny back then. I wasn't laughing. Okay. So, what would you have done different? Like, what would you do different now? Like, if you were in that situation.
It goes back to the soft skills.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to some of it is reading the room, right, and reading the people, right, and it's easy to say now because I can see these. I could see the patterns now looking back because it happened, right? Like I could see if I were to be in a situation like it again, I could see how things were being talked about and pinpoint that as like as a pattern, right? In ways that I couldn't before, right? I also feel like I'm a little bit more established in terms of like being able to look and go, yes, this is possible, and no, this is not possible. And I'm not 22, 23 anymore. So people listen a little bit more when I say it out loud. But, you know, the sort of like the diplomatic way of being like, let's think about it a different way, right? What if we take it in another direction? What about you?
I just, and honestly, again, from that rock bottom, probably, I have, thankfully, in this 10 years, established a very healthy, no bullshit policy, right? Like, I was talking to some colleagues in a project not too long ago, and they were like, "Oh, your work is amazing. You're gonna come back like in no time. People are gonna like want to have you back." I'm like, there's no way they're gonna hire me back. There's no way they're gonna hire me back because I don't eat shit. There's a level of shit eating that you have to kind of like deal with working at a theater, and this is going above mine, and I'm not there. I have been very clear with them that this is not cool, that I'm not cool with this, right? I was still willing and able to go through with the project, but if I was in that situation now, I would have walked out. I just would have walked out of the project. I was like, well, fuck it, do it without my set then, right? I've only walked out of a project once in my life, right? And it was because of creative differences, and it was very amicable. It was very like level-headed, or I want to believe that it was. But it's something that I had to develop to the point. I feel like there's something that really tricks you into believing that you're letting everybody down when you're not willing to play ball in a show, right? Because there's so many people, and you know that people are doing their best and putting in the hours and putting in the work, and you're like, I cannot just walk out, right? Like, I cannot just let everybody down because then I'm the asshole. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, but it's also your work, and it's also your worth and your time and your everything, right? So you kind of like owe that to yourself. So looking back, I want to believe that I would have just like walked out.
And it's tricky, right? It certainly back then, right? It was you have to, right? It was you have to say yes to everything. It was if you say no, you'll never get hired again. It was, right? All of those things. And it's so ingrained in the way that we're often training folks to be like, no, you have to deal with it. And I don't know if I could have walked out, but I certainly think that I, at least at this point, would have been better at holding it further away from myself, because it wasn't, 10 years worth of shows can really dilute the feeling of something, right? When you have 5 shows, one show is 20% of your entire catalog. And when you're at, 200 shows, it's like, there's no big one. Like, we'll do the next one differently. But I also think that there's, what I think I've learned a lot, certainly in the last like 5 years or so, is the idea that every person has their own idiosyncrasies, right? The things that we're good at, the things that we're bad at, the things that we enjoy to do, the things that we will do begrudgingly, the things that we won't do. And every theater has a certain set of similar idiosyncrasies. And so you really you're just finding the hot mess that matches with your hot mess.
Sure.
Like that's the thing. And so you're going to come up to places and against projects and people and things. I think this is true about all of life. Like, it's true about theater, but it's true about lots of things. that like just don't mesh, right? I am not fantastic about turning paperwork in on time, right? I get very busy and I'll end up in like back-to-back texts, and suddenly I'm looking up going, man, I really need to do that light plot that I haven't started due tomorrow. Which will often result in an email to a lighting supervisor that says, hey, here's everything that I have right this moment.
Right. And
I will get you more. My plan is to get it to you by X date. Is that okay? If you need it sooner, let me know. And I this is on me. I did this to myself. I did this to us. I got us in this situation. Like, I will be flexible, and I will get myself and us back on track. But like places where that's detrimental, right? Where like that would would drive that shop crazy. Like that's hard. That doesn't jive. Places that are a little bit, they're like, no, okay, like I already put an extra 2 weeks in the schedule because I figured everybody was gonna be late. So if you can just get it to me by Friday, that's awesome.
Right.
We get along really well. The trade-off is that I can be really flexible. I enjoy being flexible. I enjoy making things work with not a lot of resources, right? I'm happy to walk in and go, this is what we're trying to do. Here are 4 ways to do it. As opposed to like, this is the one way we can do it, and I will have it meticulously paperworked and it will be perfect. It's like, ooh, no, that is not me. So I find the places that are cool to like figure it out, and I don't tend to go back to the places that really wished that I was more straight-laced, right? Because I'm a mess, and I just like to find other people who are messy.
Here to finding people who are messy. I feel like that is a great way to wrap up our episode 0. What do you think?
I think so. I think we might need an episode 0.5 though.
Sure, we can do that.
I feel like I really wanted to hear about your dogs. And we haven't talked about dogs at all.
We'll get a chance to do that. Yes. Thank you, everybody. And stay tuned for the next episode, I guess.